Sometimes the most profound shifts in life, they don't come from movement, they come from pause. That one deep breath before a life altering decision. The silence after a painful truth. The stillness when the noise finally stops and all that's left is you. We live in a world obsessed with acceleration, hustle, optimization, momentum. But what if all that noise isn't progress at all? It's just maybe camouflage, covering up the very thing we're all meant to see. Today, I want to talk about that, about the pause, the momentum between doing and becoming, where reality finally has a chance to speak. Everywhere you look, people are moving. They're chasing numbers, timelines, status, and we all seem to be glorifying the grind, worshiping speed. But I've learned the hard way, I'll add, that sure, you can move fast and still go nowhere. You can be in motion and yet completely stuck. For years, I thought progress meant forward, more meetings, more metrics, more noise. And honestly, all it did was make me deaf to what really mattered. And I think this is something that is infecting all of us. Because the truth is, we don't fear failure, we fear silence. Try it once. Try to walk into a room, a networking event or a meeting or wherever, and just be silent. Watch how uncomfortable you get. Watch how uncomfortable others get when you're completely silenced. There's something about silence that scares us because maybe silence forces us to finally listen. And when we finally do, what happens? Maybe we begin to encounter the realities we've spent years running from. And that's what, this idea for my next book, I've been exploring this a lot, and do not read this book, was from those uncomfortable, unavoidable pauses in life, moments that forced me to stop pretending I knew who I was and start seeing who I actually became. Stillness isn't the absence of progress. It's the presence of awareness. That's what I'm arguing for, is there's this lack of knowing, understanding, and awareness. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his soul." And yet most of us have no idea how to get there because we're too busy outrunning not some competition, not some other person, but ourselves. And I think the pause, and that's what I'm going to call it, it's not empty, but it's actually alive. It's the space where actual brutal truth and honesty breathes, where you finally see your reflection, where we finally see our reflection, unfiltered, unedited, unperformed, no masks. And when you sit there, you force yourself to sit there long enough, like I have, you start to see something, notice something strange, that the world hasn't changed. You have. Your perception sharpens. Clarity begins to enter. You begin to see the scripts you've been reading from, the ones that most of us don't even know were written for us, that were just pre-programmed and layered on top of us right upon birth. And that's what my exploration into writing this book, Do Not Read This Book, is been about. It's not rebellion, but an awakening. It's about realizing how much of our lives are inherited thoughts handed to us by culture, by parents, by politics, by algorithms, by friends, by schools, and how the pause is actually our first act of defiance. The moment you stop consuming and start thinking, here's the thing. If you don't choose to pause, life will eventually do it for you. It'll come in as burnout, loss, quiet collapse you never saw coming. Because reality doesn't negotiate. It just sits there and waits because it's got all the time in the world. So while we're stuck consuming some false reality, it just sits and waits. I've seen this pattern. It's in business, it's in relationships, it's in a lot of leadership, and in myself. Every time I ignored the pause, I made decisions from noise instead of clarity, instead of thoughtfulness, instead of consideration, instead of wisdom. And every time I honored it, I honored the pause, what I found was clarity that speed could never deliver. You know, a lot of us, we all say we want truth, but truth requires stillness. You can't really discover what's real while you're sprinting past it. Pause strips away our excuses. It's you, it's me, it's all of us naked before our own reflection. And that's why most people avoid it. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Welcome to Red Pill. But here's the beauty. The pause doesn't break you. It introduces you to the version of yourself you were too busy to meet, too busy to notice. It's the first page of a story that you actually wrote, not one that was handed down to you, one that was inherited. And once you see it, you can't go back to pretending. It's I've tried. It is so hard to put the mask on and be performative and pretend after you see truth. So how do you practice the pause? I don't know. I started small. Before I reacted, I paused. What are these thoughts entering my head? Where are they coming from? Does it make sense? Before I assumed, I paused. Before I spoke or posted or judged, in that tiny gap between stimulus and a response lives our power. Viktor Frankl, I think he said it best, and I'm paraphrasing, but between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom and our growth. The gap between who you've been told you are and who you actually are, you'll find by taking a pause. The pause is how we cross the gap. This isn't about meditation or woo-woo stuff or philosophy, even though all those are great, and I fully believe in meditation and philosophy, but it's more about reclaiming authorship of your own thoughts, of your own story, and deciding what you will, and more importantly, will not believe anymore. So wherever you are listening to this, maybe watching it, if you're in your car, on a walk, lying awake, bored on the couch, just listening to Adam spew off his thoughts, I'm going to challenge you. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't fear the pause. Let reality, real, true reality, catch up to you. Let the truth find you and let the noise settle, because we are inundated with so much noise, especially nowadays. But let the noise settle until what's left is clarity. Because maybe, just maybe, the moment you stop running, sprinting, and just moving, constant moving, is the moment you actually finally arrive.